I'm Danielson. I'm a professional cyclist. I ride for Team Garmin Cervelo. I was born in East Lyme, Connecticut. Turned pro in 2003 with Team Saturn. Rode 1 year domestic, and in that year I won a major race, Tour of Langkawi in Malaysia. In 2004 I signed my first World Tour, Pro Tour contract with Fassa Bortolo. Went over to Europe, lived in Italy for a year, and was fortunate enough to ride with Lance Armstrong on Discovery Channel for 3 years after that. And then after that I made the transition to the team that I'm currently on, Garmin Cervelo. I've been here for about 4 years. You know, my whole life I've been, I guess you'd say, nearsighted. Had a hard time seeing far away, and you know, cycling is a sport that really requires good vision. All the experiences I ever remember on a bike, I've had some sort of vision impairment solution going on. First started off with just eyeglasses. Always would get sweat on the glasses. They'd fog up in the rain. And then of course when it was muddy or something like that, they would just be covered in mud, and I never had the option of just taking off my glasses and going no glasses. So eventually I made the switch to contact lenses, and was constantly getting things in my eyes, and whether it was dirt or mud or dust, so you know, if I had to take the contact lens out or something like that, it would mean the end of my race. You know, there was a lot weighing on that. And there was many times where I was left in a race where I'd have to bail out of a situation. I'd have to slow down on a descent. I'd have to let up on a climb. I'd have to skip a training ride because of an irritation in my eye where, you know, I was unable to see. I was doing my first Grand Tour, the Vuelta a España, which a Grand Tour is a 3-week race. 21 days, highest level of cycling there is. There's 3 of them. Tour of Italy, there's a Tour de France, and then there's a Vuelta a España. And you know, stage 5, you know, I had a problem with sort of a dry eye situation, really windy in the south of Spain. And for whatever reason, my eye got really, really irritated. The scary thing for me, you know, to be in this situation, you know, not even halfway through a 3-week race, you know, already I've got to put my contact back in my eye. My eye doesn't even want to open up to put the contact in there. And if I can't get that contact in there, I can't continue the race. It's my first Grand Tour. I want to make a big impression on my team. I want to show that this is who I am. I'm a, you know, top-level professional cyclist. And here I am with this dilemma thinking, I don't know if I'm going to be able to start the next day, because right now I can't even get this thing in my eye. And what I ended up having to do is just shove it in there, tons of eye drops, and really just had to go through 2 days of intense pain in my left eye. And you know, I got through it, but at that point, you know, I said, I got to do something. And then, you know, I started looking at different options for me. You know, I looked at LASIK, and you know, that's what's out there in the media. That's what's in everyone's neighborhood and everyone's paper and everywhere. And I thought, okay, well, this is all I know about LASIK. This is what I'm going to do. And the company that I saw in Denver told me, you know, I'm not a good candidate for LASIK because my cornea was slightly deformed as well, and I have a real bad problem with dry eye. So they called me back and said, hey, we've got an option for you. It's called the Visian ICL, and they basically implant a lens inside your eye, and that's your solution. And I heard it, and I didn't even question it once. You know, I was like, all right, you know, I trusted these guys. I heard about it, and I said, that sounds awesome. Sign me up. It was about a 30-minute operation procedure. Got the lens put in, and it was super cool. Right after that, I could see better than I could see with my contact lenses. And then the next morning was amazing. You know, not even 24 hours after surgery, you know, my vision was solid, and you know, I could see my alarm clock waking up in the morning, nothing. 48 hours after the surgery, you know, on my test, I was already seeing 2015, 2010, and I didn't expect to even see 2020, honestly. You know, so seeing you know, crystal clear like that, and being able to see so far, and then seeing it, you know, backed up on a test was a pretty cool experience. And then even cooler was being able to be on my bike 24 hours after surgery in some pretty harsh elements of the winter of Colorado. And not having any issue, any pain. You know, my expectations were far exceeded. When I was doing my research on the Visian ICL and looking at all the great benefits, you know, so I I could see that, I was very confident in the product that I was putting in from a performance standpoint. But then what got me even more excited, doing the research, I was able to see that you can take the Visian ICL out. If it doesn't work for you, if something doesn't work out, the surgeon can just take the lens right back out and you're square one like you were before, no problem at all. So I saw that feature and I just felt so much more confident, so much more secure that, this is a win-win situation for me. We're constantly looking for rocks, for potholes, pieces of debris on the road, anything, even like ice or mud or anything that could cause a problem for us racing. And, when you're exposed in the elements going 60 miles an hour, your eyes are watering. It's really difficult to see. So before, when I was going that fast, I almost just kind of looked, as far up the road as possible and watch the guys as far up the road as possible. And if they moved, then I'd say, okay, there's probably something there. I need to be careful. But there's no way that I'd actually be able to see the object or the problem with the road. After having the surgery, it amazed me that I could be traveling 60 miles an hour, have my eyes totally exposed to the wind and the dry air, and be able to see little cracks in the road, rocks, everything. And even after my first ride, I came back and I told my wife, this is going to help my safety immensely. I can now see the little things in the road that were causing crashes for me or causing flat tires and stuff like that at such a high speed. I'm like, this is cheating almost. I'm like, this is great. There's so much stimuli out there for a professional cyclist. Your eyes fatigue, your brain fatigues. And over the course of a 6-hour race or 6-hour training ride, your vision is not the same, from the beginning to the end. So I don't experience the eye fatigue like I used to anymore because, my vision is so sharp that it doesn't have to strain like it did before. And at the end of a 6-hour race, my vision is just as strong as at the start. And that's a huge advantage for me. And here I am, talking to you after an awesome Tour de France where, I ended up finishing 9th overall, best American, my first Tour de France. Not too many people that can say that, and the biggest sport, essentially the biggest sporting event in the world. So, to go through that experience at the Tour de France and have perfect vision every day and have the confidence that I wasn't ever going to have any problems with my eyes or any struggles there in that area. I had the best season of my career this year in 2011. A lot of people ask me, like, well, what was the difference, and I think it was my vision. Every day, if the quality of your life is that much higher, as a professional athlete, that's a 1 or 2% advantage, and that's the difference that you need to go to improve a lot in your sport.